Namaskar. The next aspect of Dharma is called Rasa. And Rasa is referring to the juiciness of life. So what is it exactly that creates juiciness, that creates sweetness in life? The word Rasa, like many Sanskrit words, can have many different nuances of meaning. One of them is juice, and it also means flow. And it is referring to what is it actually that gives us the taste in life? Rasa also means taste. Well, I think it's love. I think it's the flow of love. When we're able to experience the flow of love, that just creates so much sweetness in our lives, and that's what we are all longing for. We're always looking for love. And love, of course, when we seek for it from relationships and like this, sometimes we're in love, in the flow of love. And then all of our life seems to be sweet. Everything seems to be colored by that sweetness of love. And yet, what happens? That state of being in love usually doesn't last forever. At some point we kind of fall out of love. And then, maybe the person isn't able to be there for us when we need them to be there for us. Something's missing. And maybe we start thinking, okay, well, maybe that wasn't really it. And we look again for another source of love. But where is love really coming from? Is it coming from your child? Is it coming from your wife, your husband? Love is actually a flow. And it's like a flow that we can only experience when we are giving. When we try to grasp it, when we try to keep it, when we try to draw a circle around it and make it mine, it's like trying to grasp sand, and the tighter you grasp, the more it's slipping through your fingers. Love is a flow. When it's flowing through us, it enlivens us, but we're feeling it when we're in the flow of giving it. Because I'm sure you've had the experience. Sometimes there's somebody who's, in love with you. You don't even know about them, or you're not really interested, and they might love you a lot, but you don't feel anything. So it's not coming towards you. You have to be open. You have to actually be in that flow yourself in order to experience it. And when love is flowing through you, it gives that sweetness, that joy, that flow to life, that magic. Now, magic is another kind of interesting part of Rasa for me, because Rasa is about opening up, letting go, and experiencing a magical flow of life that comes from experiencing this universal flow of love working through you, working all around you, and not just personally directed towards one person, but as a kind of force, a force that guides you, a force that's giving meaning and intelligence and organizing the whole universe. And we can be part of that flow. How do we do it? We have to overcome the limitations of our small self that just wants to grasp, that wants to cling, that wants to make it just possess, And how do we do that? Well, I love this image of the clay pot. The clay pot, when it's put inside of the water, then it has water outside of it, inside of it. What's the difference between the water inside and the water outside? It's actually just the clay pot. When you remove that pot, when you remove the walls of that pot, then those two waters just flow together and they're all one. And this is similar to the love and the consciousness that's inside of us and that's all around us. But it's our sense of limitation, our sense of self, that we are small, that we are insignificant. This feeling of limitation is our clay pot. Now, this separates us from others, separates us from that universal flow. And so, we feel we have to hold on to our water. But if we're able to transcend, if we're able to let go of that pot, then this water is actually all one. We're already immersed. We're immersed in a flow of consciousness. We're immersed in this. It's not just a flow of consciousness, it's a loving flow of consciousness. It's an aware, intelligent force of consciousness. So it's about trusting and letting go. We want to be in control. We want to be in the driver's seat. We want to call the shots. It's hard to let go. There's a there's a cute joke of, this guy's walking on the mountains. He kind of slips and falls off of a cliff like this. And it's a long drop down. And he managed to grasp, a branch. And he's holding on there for dear life and slipping. And, he calls out, of course, help, help. Is there anybody up there who can help me? And there's a long pause. Nobody's coming. He's screaming more, help, help, help. And then there's a voice from the heavens. And it says, this is God. I will help you. Let go. Long pause. Isn't there anybody else up there that can help me? So, like this, it can be pretty hard to let go and trust. Feels much safer to know what's going to happen next. Play it safe. But letting go is what allows magic into our life. I don't know about you, but as a kid, I really kind of felt like the world should be more magical. I grew up, in a world of fantasy and magic, and loved watching the film Mary Poppins, and she would sing her songs and snap her fingers, and the bed would make itself all by itself. Covers would just nicely, neatly roll themselves up and straighten out, and she would snap the fingers a little bit more. All of the toys would line up nicely. Well, I was very inspired. Next day, going to my room, singing, snapping my fingers. Required a lot more physical assistance from my side than in the movie. But I also remember a scene in that movie where the children are able to communicate with the birds, with the animals, and they're saying the birds are telling them, you're going to grow up and you'll forget about us. And they're like, no, we'll never forget you. No, you'll forget. It always happens. At 5 years old, children, they just can't remember anymore how to communicate with us. And of course, that's exactly what happens. At a certain point, they grow up 5 years old, a little bit older. They cannot communicate anymore with the natural world, with that feeling of oneness and magic. And somehow this happens. Like we start to become more of this real world and have to be, have to learn how to function in this real world. And there's no magic. It's kind of a letdown until you start the path of spirituality. Because then it brings back in an incredible magic into life. Because life is actually meant to be magical. It's part of our Dharma. It is part of our human nature to experience the magical flow of the world, the magical flow that love creates. And what does this mean? So as I started my spiritual path, I met this one brother, this one monk actually, who had been around for a long time, and he had so many fascinating experiences where I just felt it was like he would jump and then the net would appear, like that story of being on the cliff and just let go. He would just go into a place he'd never been before, and he didn't even have a place to stay. And he just trusted that he was in that flow and everything was going to work out. And people would just come up to him like, do you need a place to stay? You can come to my house. And just these absolutely crazy, improbable things, that just, we would maybe say serendipity, but there's this feeling that then nothing happens by accident. No, there is some force. And the more you open up to it, the more it can work, the more it can happen. And that's been my experience. I was inspired by that and really wanted to have my own experiences of this. It was very interesting and exciting. His life was such an adventure. I longed for that kind of adventure and excitement in my own life. And so I remember, the very first time I was reading a book about neo-humanism and about how, different religions, and their essence is all moving towards the same goal, but they don't get along. And somehow when I was reading this, I was understanding that, it's so important to be able to unite people around this common humanity of, some common purpose across different, bridging different religions, bridging different divides like that. And I got this inspiration, like, wouldn't it be amazing to do some kind of interreligious gathering where we all talk about our different spiritual perspectives on ecology and on protecting the earth? And I just thought I really should do this. I was listening inside. I felt this flow from inside, this kind of inspiration and guidance. And I'm like, yeah, I should do that. So I went home. You know, we had phone books back then. It means like where all the phone numbers were, not just in the telephone. And so I opened up the phone book like to, I don't know, religious communities, something. And I started to call people. I can't believe now that I did this. I just started to randomly call people up out of the phone book and explain my idea. The first few people I got were a little bit okay, not super enthusiastic. But the third or fourth person that I called, she said, "It is really amazing that you are calling me right in this moment. I was just reading, I have right in front of me an invitation to an interreligious gathering for Earth Day, in which we're going to do exactly that. We're bringing together different traditions and faiths to all share their perspectives on the environment and on protecting the environment." And she said, "You must be part of this. You should be part of this." And she invited me into the organizing committee of this big event. I was very young. I was just in my early 20s and, you know, was part of the organizing board of this big event for like 500 people. And even was one of the people that spoke on the panel. It was quite an experience. And it was all from listening within, listening to that voice within and trusting that guidance and taking that step to jump and let the net appear. And it did. And that gave me tremendous inspiration and courage. And I was just thinking the other day, the same thing happened. You know, just yesterday, I was in our farm here in Romania, and 2 of the electric poles had fallen down. And already a month ago, I'd asked my staff to take care of it. Still nothing had happened. You know, the company's telling us we have to deal with it. It's going to be super expensive. And I'm like, what to do? And then from within comes, in my mind, the thought that one of our donors from last year, he has a company, and he's in Buzău nearby, and I think it's called Electroconstruct. Okay, maybe he deals with electricity. And just on this small inspiration, I call him up, and sure enough, that's exactly what he does. He has one of the special firms that we've been looking for, and he offers to come and take care of it. So it was just such a feeling of grace. So Rasa is about experiencing this phenomenon that I call grace. No, it's something that you cannot deserve. You cannot force it. You can only be open to it. And it surprises you with unexpected miracles, with unexpected magic. You just have to be open to it and allow yourself to be guided and to go into that flow. Now, practically, how can we attract more grace into our lives? How can we experience this letting go, this flow? How can we experience more love in our lives? Well, one of the practices that I teach in my intro course, this basic course that we have in meditation steps, and that is also teaching, is the practice of dynamic meditation, this practice of singing. You know, when you sing, it already is a way to harness, to channelize, to mobilize all of this power of emotion that exists within us, and to bring it towards the divine. No other goal but just to experience and open to that flow of universal cosmic love that is the life force, the vitality in everything all around us. And you know, to be honest, like yogic practice and meditation, it's not so straightforward or simple or instant coffee kind of thing that you'll immediately feel results. It takes time to train your mind. It takes time to be able to focus, to be able to let go of distractions, and to, you know, use this whole systematic process to achieve some satisfaction in meditation. But when you sing, that is a way to immediately experience, pretty much instantly sometimes. There's moments when I've gathered people together who've never done this practice, who've never heard this mantra. I've gathered them together and we just sing and we sing, and I keep singing, and everybody gets so high. You just feel the whole atmosphere becoming so blissful, so subtle, so sweet. So that's that flow of rasa. That's that flow of rasa. That's that flow of life, of love. Because when you sing the mantra, this mantra that we use for this process called kirtan, of singing, the mantra is bhavanam kevalam. And the mantra itself is a reminder that everything is embedded in that blissful consciousness and that one love. And so the meaning of the mantra, the sound of the mantra, the repetition of it, it's soothing, it harmonizes all the vibrations going on in your mind. You know, rasa, like I said, means flow. It also means harmony. And so on the mundane level, like all the aspects of Dharma, they're going to express in everyone, sometimes in a more limited way, sometimes in a fully bloomed way. So on a limited way, you know, the expression of rasa leads us to really want to be in harmony with our environment. So we seek out things that have similar vibration to us, because when two vibrations are flowing along in parallel, it's comfortable, it creates comfort, it creates pleasure. It's the harmony that creates pleasure. So what happens? On the mundane level, it leads to many times people being afraid to rock the boat. You know, they want to stay in harmony with their friends, with their family. They don't want to do anything too controversial that will lose that kind of harmony with the external world. And this can be limiting, no? Because then you think, oh, if I do that, what will they think? What will they say? Oh, I shouldn't do that. But when you start to seek to be in harmony, not with the external world and with all those pressures from around you, but rather to listen to your heart and to be in harmony with that universal voice, that guidance from within. When you choose to live your life from the heart and follow your dreams for real, then you start to harmonize your life with that cosmic flow. Because your heart's going to guide you, if it's truly coming from intuition, towards welfare of all, of yourself, of all. And cultivating the attitude of wanting to be an instrument, of allowing all your potentials to be mobilized, to be utilized, to help uplift those around you. This is also the meaning of rasa. That is when you really attract that grace. Because that grace comes when there's the desire to serve, when there's the desire to please, when there's the desire to love, to give. Because like I said, you can only experience it when you're in the giving flow, not trying to grasp and receive. That's the paradox of it. The more you're giving, the more that flows through you. You know, sometimes I've been asked to give a talk or something. Just 2 weeks ago, I had to give a talk and I was really feeling unwell. I'd had a fever. My whole body was aching. I wasn't feeling good. I was feeling kind of sick. But I had, been requested to give a talk. So before the talk, clear my mind, open up, make my, kind of prayer just to use me, let your flow come through me. And then magically, I experienced that flow of just grace, just of thoughts and ideas coming together in a beautiful way. And I felt better. I wasn't feeling sick anymore at the end. I truly felt better because that positive energy had been flowing through me and it just lifted me up and it transformed me also. So this is the real magic. Little and big miracles start happening in your life. You start trusting it more and more. And life is beautiful. It has a flow. Singing allows you to be part of that flow and to direct all that flow in one direction towards a supreme direction. And that's the easiest way to start getting that sense of rasa, that sense of the sweetness and the flow of life that will uplift you and change everything. So thank you so much for your support. I hope that you will subscribe or give a like or give your comments and be part of this bigger universal flow of spreading joy, spreading love, spreading light to as many people as you can all around you. Namaskar.